Let's be honest. The Dallas Cowboys can't afford to miss in this year's draft. After another painful playoff exit and growing questions about the team's long-term direction, every decision this front office makes matters more than ever. And if you're paying attention, there's one moment in the pre-draft process that always speaks louder than any mock draft or rumor: the official visits. The 30 visits aren't just routine meetings. They're a strategic roadmap into the minds of the Cowboys' front office. And right now, that roadmap is starting to reveal some big clues. You ever wonder how much a player visit really means? Like, is it just smoke, or does it actually signal something real? These pre-draft visits are limited. Teams get only 30 official slots. That means every invite is intentional, calculated, and often reserved for players who are either high on the board or have lingering questions the team needs answered in person. For the Cowboys, this process isn't just about interviews and handshakes. It's about digging deep. It's about medicals, scheme fit, character evaluations, you name it. Whether it's bringing in a local prospect for the Dallas day or flying in a potential first-rounder, every detail is measured. The Cowboys have a pattern here, and those of us watching closely know how revealing it can be. And sure, the rumor mill is always buzzing, especially this time of year. But when names start showing up on those 30 visit lists, especially confirmed by credible insiders like Nick Harris, you know there's fire behind the smoke. These visits aren't just a formality. They often foreshadow real draft targets. Think back to past years. How many of those players ended up wearing the star? So here's the question I want to throw your way. Do you believe these visits actually tell us who the Cowboys might pick? Or is it all just misdirection? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know if you think this front office is playing it straight or bluffing the rest of the league. Because what we're about to break down next, that's where things start to get really interesting. Let's talk names. Let's talk star power. Now that we understand the weight these official visits carry, it's time to look at the real headliners, the names that jump off the list. Because when you see who the Cowboys are bringing in, it starts painting a very specific picture. And honestly, some of these guys aren't just intriguing prospects. They're potential day-one game changers. Let's start with Emeka Egbuka. If you've watched any Ohio State games over the past couple of years, you know exactly what he brings. He's not just fast, he's smooth. Reliable hands, sharp route running, elite vision after the catch. He's the kind of wide receiver who could immediately take pressure off CeeDee Lamb and give Dak Prescott another go-to option. Some scouts even call him a more polished version of what we hoped Michael Gallup would become. Then there's Kelvin Banks. This offensive lineman out of Texas is one of the most versatile big men in the draft. Tackle or guard, doesn't matter. He can do both. He's physical, technically sound, and has that nasty streak you want in the trenches. With Tyron Smith gone and the O-line depth looking shaky, Banks could be a long-term anchor and a short-term fix. And what about Andrew Mukuba? A safety with serious upside. He's rangy, instinctive, and not afraid to stick his nose in the run game. If drafted, he'd instantly be in the conversation for best safety on the roster. That's how much raw talent he's bringing to the table. Walter Nolan might be the most interesting of the bunch, a defensive tackle with raw power and freakish athleticism. Some are calling him a more explosive version of Mazi Smith, and that's saying something. The ceiling here is sky high, but he'll need the right coaching to put it all together. And finally, there's Luther Burden. Yeah, that Luther Burden, the guy people are already calling the baby Dez Bryant. Explosive, emotional, tough to cover, and impossible to ignore. Some teams might worry about his personality, but man, when he's locked in, he's electric. Imagine him in this offense. You can't double Lamb and worry about Burden. Pick your poison. So let's make it interactive. Which of these names gets you the most hyped? If you could lock in one of them right now, who would it be? Vote in the poll and drop a comment explaining your pick. Because while we're talking about big names here, The Cowboys are also eyeing another kind of weapon, the ones who can break a game open in one play, and that's where we're headed next. We've talked about the polished stars and high-profile prospects, but every draft class has a few players who bring something different, something explosive. You know the type. One touch and they're gone. Game breakers, home run hitters. And it looks like the Cowboys have their eyes on a few of these lightning rods. First up, Tre'Veyon Henderson. Bo. He's healthy. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. His burst through the hole is ridiculous, and he's got legit track speed in the open field. Some scouts question his durability. He's dealt with injuries, but there's no denying the upside. If you're looking for a back who can take it 70 yards at any moment, Henderson is that guy. Then there's Bhayshul Tuten. Not a household name, but trust me, this kid is fast. We're talking 4.29 speed. And it's not just straight line either. He's quick, shifty, and dangerous as a returner. Special teams value? Through the roof. And if the Cowboys are serious about adding explosiveness in space, this visit says a lot. But maybe the most interesting of this group is wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan, T-Mac. He's not just a burner, he's a playmaker with size, body control, and sticky hands. He's been popping up in several Cowboys mock drafts lately, and for good reason. He gives off real ex-receiver vibes and could develop into a serious red zone threat. These are the kind of guys who can flip momentum in a blink. And in today's NFL, that matters. A 3rd and long doesn't feel as hopeless when you've got someone who can create magic after the catch, or hit a crease and outrun everyone on the field. So here's something for you to chew on. Would you rather the Cowboys go after a bruising, between the tackles back, or one of these explosive types who can score from anywhere? Drop a comment with your vote. Explosion or non-power? Because while speed is exciting, it also comes with risks, and the Cowboys are also bringing in some prospects who carry plenty of question marks. And in the next chapter, we're diving straight into that fire. Every draft has them, the wild cards. The players who make scouts sit up in meetings and say, he could be a star, or he could blow it all up. And right now, the Cowboys are showing real interest in a few of those boom or bust types, the kind of guys who come with red flags, but also the kind of raw talent you just can't teach. Let's start with Amarian Hampton, a physical downhill runner with a violent style and a nose for the end zone. On tape, he looks like a first-round back. But the big question is, can his body hold up? He's had a heavy workload and some nagging injury concerns. Still, if you believe in his durability, you're looking at a bell cow back who could carry the offense when it matters most. Then there's Shamar Stewart, a defensive enigma. He's built like a monster, but no, one seems quite sure where he fits. Is he an edge rusher, a 3-tech, a rotational guy, or a future Pro Bowler? His motor runs hot and cold, and production hasn't always matched the potential. But when he flashes, it's hard not to get excited. And yes, Luther Burden is back in this conversation. We talked about his talent already, but let's be real. There are personality concerns. Some insiders say he's emotional, a bit of a hothead. Others argue that same fire is what makes him dangerous on the field. Dez Bryant comparisons? They make sense, in both the best and worst ways. These are the gambles that separate bold teams from cautious ones. The upside is elite, but so is the risk. So here's the million-dollar question. Would you use a high pick on a player with elite talent but major red flags, injury history, attitude issues, inconsistency? It's all on the table. Tell me in the comments. Are you the kind of fan who bets on potential, or do you play it safe? Because next up, we're looking at what's still missing from the picture. The names we haven't seen yet, and what that silence might be telling us. So far, we've broken down the confirmed visits, the stars, the speedsters, and the high-risk, high-reward gambles. But sometimes, what isn't on the list can be just as revealing as what is. And when you look at who the Cowboys haven't brought in yet, it raises a few eyebrows. Take Matthew Golden, for example. a dynamic receiver with solid production and big playability. He's been a fan favorite in mock drafts, yet no official visit confirmed so far. Could the Cowboys be hiding their interest, or are they genuinely leaning in another direction? Then there's Mason Graham, a defensive lineman with elite motor and serious upside. He checks every box: smart, physical, versatile. So why isn't he on the visit list yet? Is it a medical issue, scheme fit, or are they hoping he slides into a later round without drawing attention? And what about Tyler Booker, one of the most consistent offensive linemen in the class, with SEC pedigree and a mauler's mentality? Given the Cowboys' need in the trenches, his absence is puzzling, unless they're banking on someone else falling, or they've already made up their mind on other linemen. This is where you start reading between the lines. NFL insiders call it tea leaf season for a reason. Every visit, every omission, it all adds up to a draft day strategy. But the reality is, not every team plays it straight. Some hide their intentions. Others bluff. And with Jerry Jones and company, well, nothing's ever simple. What's clear, though, is this. The Cowboys know they can't afford a misstep this year. There's too much pressure, too much talent on the board, and too many gaps to fill. Whether they stick to the names we've seen or surprise us with a few out-of-nowhere picks, these visits offer real insight into how they're thinking. So here's your chance. Which player hasn't shown up on the 30-visit list that you need to see in a Cowboys uniform? Drop your pick in the comments and let's build our own wish list together. Because draft season is about to heat up, and this ride is just getting started.